Bosnia and Herzegovina is often described through what can be seen: its cities, its rivers, its mountains, and the visible traces of recent conflict. Less attention is given to what exists beneath that surface, not symbolically but physically. Across Bosnia and Herzegovina, there remains an extensive network of underground military infrastructure constructed during the Cold War period of socialist Yugoslavia. Facilities designed not for public awareness, but for strategic continuity under extreme conditions. Some of these installations are now accessible, others are sealed, abandoned, or restricted, and many were never formally introduced into public records at all. This documentary examines what is known about these sites, what can be established through documentation, and what remains unclear without speculation. Following the Second World War, Yugoslavia developed a military doctrine based on the concept of total national defense. Unlike countries firmly aligned with either NATO or the Warsaw Pact, Yugoslavia pursued a strategy of self-reliance. Military planners assumed that in the event of a large-scale conflict, surface infrastructure could be compromised or destroyed. Survival planning therefore extended underground. Command centers, storage facilities, communication hubs, and air bases were increasingly built beneath natural terrain. Mountains provided physical protection. Underground placement limited vulnerability to aerial reconnaissance and attack. Bosnia and Herzegovina played a significant role in this strategy due to its geography. Dense mountain ranges, complex terrain, and limited accessibility made the region suitable for concealing large-scale infrastructure. As a result, Bosnia and Herzegovina became home to a disproportionate number of underground military installations relative to its size and population. Not all served the same purpose. Some were designed for command and control, others for logistics, storage, or aviation, and some combined multiple functions. One of the most thoroughly documented underground facilities in Bosnia and Herzegovina is Tito's bunker, located near Konjic. Construction of the facility began in the 1950s and continued in phases until the late 1970s. Its intended function was to serve as a nuclear shelter and command facility for the political and military leadership of Yugoslavia. The complex is embedded deep within a mountain and consists of a network of corridors, rooms, and technical systems. These include residential quarters, conference spaces, communication rooms, water reservoirs, and independent power generation. What distinguishes this site is not uncertainty about its purpose, but the way it was managed. The bunker was classified as a high-level military secret. Its existence and function were known only to a limited number of individuals within the Yugoslav military and political structure. Local populations were aware of a military presence in the area, but the scale and purpose of the underground complex were not publicly disclosed, mapped, or acknowledged in civilian documentation. Following the dissolution of Yugoslavia and the conflicts of the 1990s, the facility remained under military control. It was preserved rather than dismantled. Only in the late 2000s did the bunker transition from a classified military site to a publicly acknowledged location. It was open to the public in the early 2010s after assessments determined it no longer held strategic military value. This case demonstrates that large-scale underground military infrastructure could exist for decades without public awareness, even in close proximity to civilian areas. The documented history of Tito's bunker establishes an important precedent. If a fatality of this scale and complexity could remain undisclosed for such a long period, it follows that smaller or less prominent installations may never have been formally revealed at all. This is not an assertion of hidden activity. It is an observation about documentation and disclosure practices during the Cold War. Another significant example of underground military construction is the Željava Air Base, located near the border between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Croatia. Built into the Plješivica mountain, Željava was one of the largest underground military air bases in Europe. Unlike conventional airfields, the base integrated surface runways with an extensive underground system. Aircraft could be stored, serviced, and deployed directly from reinforced tunnels carved into rock. The base was designed to withstand direct military attack, including nuclear strikes. Operations were intended to continue even if surface infrastructure was rendered unusable. In the early 1990s, during the dissolution of Yugoslavia, the base was deliberately disabled. Surface facilities were damaged, and access to parts of the complex was restricted. Today, large portions of the underground structure remain physically present. However, access is limited due to safety concerns, including structural instability and unexploded ordnance. Željava remains a documented example of the scale and ambition of Cold War underground military engineering. Beyond these well-known sites exist installations that received far less public attention. One such location is the military facility in Misoča, near Sarajevo. Available documents and secondary sources indicate that this site functioned primarily as a storage facility for oil and fuel derivatives intended for military use. Strategic fuel reserves were essential for maintaining mobility during prolonged conflict. What distinguishes this site is its integration with civilian geography. Reports suggest that underground storage tunnels extended beneath the settlement itself. This design reduced the likelihood of targeted attack and concealed the facility's presence. From a military planning perspective, this approach was consistent with established doctrine. From a civilian perspective, it meant that critical infrastructure existed beneath everyday life, largely unnoticed. It is important to recognize the limits of available information. Many Yugoslav military records were destroyed, lost, and/or remain classified following the dissolution of the state. What remains comes from declassified documents, technical records, military memoirs, and local accounts. Each source has limitations. As a result, a complete and definitive inventory of underground military infrastructure in Bosnia and Herzegovina does not exist. After the conflicts of the 1990s, many underground facilities were no longer relevant to contemporary military strategy. Some were repurposed, others dismantled, many were sealed. In several cases, entrances were reinforced rather than removed. This suggests long-term risk management rather than continued use. Hazardous materials, structural degradation, and unexploded munitions are common reasons for restricted access. However, detailed public explanations are rarely provided. Across the landscape, similar physical patterns remain. Concrete structures obscured by vegetation, steel doors embedded in rock faces. These features are consistent with former military infrastructure. They do not, on their own, indicate secrecy or activity. What is notable is their persistence. Decades after their operational relevance has passed, many remain unchanged. Bosnia and Herzegovina's underground military infrastructure represents a physical record of Cold War strategy. It reflects a period in which survival planning extended deep beneath the surface. What remains today is fragmented, partially documented, and often inaccessible. Some sites are now contextualized and open. Others remain sealed, and many were never intended for public recognition. If history is often written on the surface, then Bosnia's underground tells a quieter story. One shaped by strategic necessity, built in concrete and stone, and designed to endure long after the world that created it had changed. This film presented what can be documented and where the historical record remains incomplete. If you wish to continue exploring overlooked chapters of history, you're welcome to stay.